Hi everyone, it's Marina and hello and welcome back to lesson number 3 from Nado Korean. Nice to meet you and let's get started. I hope you took a look by yourself as well in the reading. I invited you through one of my experiences and I hope it helps you understand more about Korean culture. So today we talk about understanding the Korean culture and a little bit how it influences the language. Sorry. Okay, let's see. So in today's lesson, since we talk about that, I'm going to specify from the beginning that Korean language doesn't use the pronouns. So personal pronouns are not used except for me or us, as me as a part of the group and us. Also, it has three main styles. It's formal, informal, and friendly or unpolite, I would say, depending on who you talk to. Okay. Let's take a look on the first page first of all. So I would say that reading a lot about the Korean culture I think is going to be helpful for today. So if you finish the lesson, I recommend you take a look on Korean culture videos, learn more about that, how Korean people act, how they interact, how they speak, and so on. Okay. So it's important that in Korea we do not speak unpolite to somebody who is older or in a higher position. This is also important. So because they come from Confucianism, I would say that they are more into respecting the position, like social position. Also, there are some styles that are used in specific situations, and since we are the beginners, we are going to focus mainly on one of the polite forms, not the informal, not the formal one, but also not the informal or impolite one. So it's polite but still casual a little bit. Okay. If you took a look on my reading from page 3-2, you would understand that sometimes some expressions they are out of the discussion. So I have no idea why they say let's meet again, let's eat again together, I'll contact you, and so on, but they never really contacted me after that. So for me it was disappointing and sad, I would say. In order for you to understand this is just a cultural thing, I prepared this lesson so you don't become like me and wait and wait and wait. First of all, you know that in Korean history, Korea was very poor in the past, so not everybody was doing well. And I personally believe that some expressions came from the idea that I care for you, but I don't know if we meet again. So that's why they say let's meet again, let's eat again next time, and so on. In order for us to be like kind of like assuring each other that we see each other and we are well in the future somehow. But it's not necessarily they're really interested in meeting exactly, because like everybody is busy though. Okay. Also there are also like this kind of expressions when you meet and they ask you 밥 먹었어요, did you eat, or did you have your meal. It's not necessarily asking you if you what you enjoyed at dinner or lunch, did you eat, but it's just a way of saying hello as well. Also, if you look at the next page, we do have some appellatives or names to call the others, and these are just a few examples. For example, like if somebody is very old and they look like grandpa or grandma, even if they're not our grandpa or grandma, we still call them 할머니 for grandma and 할아버지 for grandpa, as we are related. So it's because Koreans, they have this structure of expressing like the needs of the collective somehow. It's a collectivity mind. So we express it as we are familiar with that person. When we talk about somebody older that we don't know, usually we say 선생님, or like 아주머니 and 아저씨, they are a little bit unpolite, I would say, unless you are similar age. When you're at the restaurant, I don't recommend saying 저기요 or 여기요, like hey here, but 사장님 is a more polite form to say 사장님. It's kind of like boss, right? It's kind of respecting them, right? So they will feel better if you call them 사장님, and you would trust them with your food. After all, they bring you your food. Okay, so for those who are close to us, but let's say we don't speak Panmal or like impolite form to them, we are close, but we still don't call them by name. We call them name Oni, name Oppa, name Nuna, and so on. Which Oni is, we are going to learn later as well. Oni is for bigger, like older women than us a little bit. Oppa is for older brothers, like older men. I would say a little bit, not too much, but a few years. Nuna, if I am a boy, then it would be Nuna, and if for like sister or like friend, older friend, female friend, and Hyung for older male friend if I'm a boy. Okay, so the thing is, like, these names are attached to give a sort of status in our life, and it's important to understand this. Also, at some point in the books they give you the she, which is like name she. It's kind of like a, they would say that it's polite form, but these days somehow it changed a little bit and it becomes like when somebody is in higher position but it's younger than the other people who are in the in the lower position, but they don't know how to call them and they cannot call them by name because they are older than them anyway. So they use this she somehow for making it sound a little bit polite but not too polite. These days it's a lot of name. You can, if you are in Korea and you go around, they're always calling you by name, blah blah blah, Marina 님, Marina boyku 님, 이런 식으로. So it's like this. Also, if you look at the styles, we do have formal and polite, and usually it finishes in 습니다, 입니다, 십시오, 겠습니다, 왔습니다, 왔습니다, and some other more. Also informal but still very polite, and this is going to be our main focus for the book, which usually ends in yo. 으세요, 을까요, 을래요, 을거예요, 오고 싶어요, and so on. Anyway, many with yo, usually in yo. And panmal, which is usually cutting the yo outside, but in the same time panmal is used only with very close friends to us, same age or younger than us. Also with brothers and sisters if it's not a huge big difference in age. These days people, like kids, they speak panmal even to their parents, but for example my husband would never speak in panmal with his family. So I think it's like new generation changing a little bit, let's say, but I still don't recommend to use that with anyone, no matter how close you are. Don't use panmal to them. Okay, and then I explained about a bit about this them being involved in a collective. So for example, they would not say my country, they would say 우리 country, like our country, but it's somehow my country translated in other languages. So my country, my family. Sometimes they will say 우리 남편, which is like my husband, but it's our husband. It was very strange at the beginning, our daughter, but in the same time it's just their way of saying because they are part in our family. I mean, personal to them. So that's why I think that they use this. It's very interesting actually, the way they express in the language. Okay, also if you look at the next page, the last page of the chapter, I did express a little bit some explanation about basic greetings. So you know what, if you understand that, then it's going to be easier for you to memorize that. So for example, 안녕하세요 actually comes from 안녕하다, which is to do well. So when you say 안녕하세요, is a informal polite form to ask the other, are you well? And then you answer, 네, 안녕하세요. Like, yes, but you, are you okay? So that's why Korean greeting has a question mark at the end. Also, 안녕히 is the adverb from 안녕하다. Usually he is adverb. So well, and then 가세요 means go. So go well, go in peace. So that's why we say 안녕히 가세요 to somebody who's leaving. And 계세요 is from stay, is a polite form, stay. So stay well, stay in peace. And that's why we say this 안녕히 계세요 to somebody who stays and we leave. And it's actually interesting, like if you kind of analyze a little bit the expressions, we are going to look at that one later, and cut them in small pieces in order for you to understand and memorize them easier. Okay, also the last part that I want to emphasize in this lesson is the fact that we have two thank you and two I'm sorry, and probably you heard that, like 감사합니다, 고맙습니다, 죄송합니다, 미안합니다, or 미안해요, 고마워요. Probably you heard that one. 감사합니다 and 고맙습니다, they're two totally different words. 감사합니다 comes from Hanja. It was used towards the aristocrats or like higher class. And 고맙습니다, it was used between the common people, still for politeness, like parents and so on. So 감사합니다, it makes them feel a little bit like better when you say that. That's why mostly they say 감사합니다 instead of 고맙습니다. And 고맙습니다, that's why it's used in 고마워요, a more casual way. So 감사합니다 comes from 한자, which is like was used only for the rich class, and 고맙습니다 is like the normal original Korean. Same with 죄송합니다. 죄송합니다 also comes from 한자, and it was used towards the aristocrats. And 미안합니다 or 미안해요, it's a more casual way of saying in a common Korean. Well, that's it for today's lesson. I hope you really learned a lot. And if you are more curious about Korean culture, do make a search and let me know what you learned in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you at the next lesson. Bye! 안녕히 계세요.